This afternoon, President Obama offered a responsible plan to help Iraq's leaders fight a terrorist takeover. And as soon as he finished, wannabe presidents like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio rushed to the Senate floor to offer rhetoric, but no actual plan. They want us to protect Americans, deal with the terrorist threat, and keep Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Those are all great ideas. And then there's this last doozy from last night when another wannabe commander-in-chief said, specifically, what do we do now?
Well,
Lots of people are for airstrikes. Are you for airstrikes?
No, I think there are a number of ways, and we don't have to actually signal all the things that we're going to do.
I asked Rick Perry last night about a half dozen times what he suggests we do in Iraq, and never got a clear answer. So thanks to all the wannabe presidents for your glittering generalities and statements of the obvious. But being president means dealing with the details and thinking through the consequences of military intervention. Sadly, I don't hear any of that serious work being done on the Republican side of the aisle. In the Crossfire tonight, Representatives Loretta Sanchez and Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, with the exception of you.
I was going to say, no offense.
You're a veteran of these wars. You served in the Air Force. You still serve, and we honor that service. But there is no bench on the Republican side of the aisle, absent just basically saying, let's send troops, in terms of thinking of thoughtful, responsible foreign policy approaches to some of our greatest problems right now.
Well, I think that'll come out. I mean, look, in all fairness, when you saw President Obama talk about his plan when he was running, he didn't have a lot of details either. He just said no Iraq. You know,
well, he got it right.
He called Afghanistan the good war, and now he's in a hurry to leave it. So, but I think we have a deep bench. It's going to be developed. It's pretty early, but, you know, look, we still have Jeb Bush. We have Chris Christie. We have a lot of good candidates that, as time goes on, they're going to develop their foreign policy chops.
Yeah, okay.
Congresswoman Sanchez, the president has insisted over and over again that Al-Qaeda has been decimated and the world is a safer place now, and I think a lot of us would disagree with that. But he's fond of one particular metaphor to use when it comes to reasons why we should not be fighting terrorism abroad. Take a listen.
Rather than try to play whack-a-mole wherever these terrorist organizations may pop up, what we have to do is to be able to build effective partnerships, make sure that they have capacity.
You know, I remember playing whack-a-mole, and it's a fun metaphor, but it's not completely honest. That implies that a terrorist group pops up somewhere, leaves, and pops up somewhere else. That's not what's happening right now. These terrorist organizations are multiplying and expanding. They're not just in Iraq. They're in Syria. They're in the Maghreb. They're in Indonesia. They're in Somalia. They're in Nigeria. Isn't he being dishonest about how serious and wide-reaching this threat is?
Look, threats are all around the world. And if we're smart, we understand that our military is just one of the tools we have in our bag of tricks to be able to handle situations. And, you know, our military is the best educated, the best equipped, and the best trained that the world has ever seen, historically has ever seen. And so everybody's rushed to, oh, well, we'll just put the military in there. What they forget is that our military is also a scarce resource. And so we do have to work where we can to multiply the effect with other troops, with other people. We have to work on the diplomatic side. We have to work on the economic side.
The military is scarce, but we're fierce and we're really good at what we do. And you cannot have diplomacy with ISIS or Al-Qaeda or the Taliban, which is a whole nother issue. Diplomacy doesn't work with people that are dead set on killing people that believe what we believe. You can't send an ambassador to ISIS.
But there are economic situations, there's military strength, which you can magnify in different ways. And, you know, quite frankly, I mean, I'm the wife of a veteran who spent 23 years. He's a retired colonel out of the Army. And I'm going to tell you, we have plenty of friends who are military families. They're tired of holding the line for the rest of us. We have got to get better about diplomacy, about who our friends in the world are,
If we could wish a world where there was no war, trust me, I'd take out the magic The problem is what we're facing today is groups like ISIS, groups like Al-Qaeda, groups all over Africa that are metastasizing and killing people
But
everywhere.
I think what we're saying, guys, is that it's not one or the other.
Right.
And it's a responsible approach is both.
Right. I agree.
And that a way to fight terrorism is to develop some of these poor economies in Africa, for instance, so that people don't have to turn to terrorism.
I fully agree.
There are other options there.
In the absence of economic development and education, terrorism thrives. So I think that is very important for the long term.
Isn't that what you're saying?
Sanctions, for example, that we have seen work against Iran as they're trying to build a nuclear weapon.
Instead of bombing Iran.
Or when we follow the finance trail with respect to how some of these terrorists are financing their situation. Intelligence, actionable intelligence in particular, is so incredible before we go in and send our military.
Do you think we're missing some actionable intelligence in Iraq now, then?
We are. We are missing actionable intelligence for exactly the reason that my colleague said, that we moved out and we don't necessarily have everything that we know that we used to have on the ground. So we need to go in and we need to figure out real fast what's going on. But we do need to figure it out.
In January. That was the time to start.
Well, you know,
hopefully it's not too late.
It's always nice when the milk is spilt and you can say, oh, we shouldn't have spilt the milk. But the reality is you have to move forward from this.
All right, stay here, guys. We want you at home now to weigh in on today's Fireback question. Should the U.S. send military advisors to Iraq? Tweet yes or no using hashtag Crossfire, and we'll have the results after the break. We also have our outrages of the day, and today, Stephanie and I stand united.
It's true.